Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, the Versace Stoner, with another episode of VSW. Thank you, and welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of VSW. I am your host, the Versace Stoner, alongside
with the Sable here.
And tonight we are talking Fortune Favors the Bold by Limitless Wrestling. What a night in wrestling history that was.
Absolutely, Versace. It was a historic movement, a great match car from the bottom to the top. Are you ready for some Fortune Favors the Bold?
I sure am.
All right, let's start off with another main event pre-show attraction with the newly formed team of the prestigious with the legend John Alba. The main attraction, you know who it is, Mac Daniels, the Natural, Tanner Thomas, and Victoria's BRG against the team of the Sea Stars, Ashley Vox, Real Kitch, and one of the boys, Delmy XO, with Iron Rip Bison.
What a matchup to open things up. Really could have been on the card, but I honestly just think Randy likes to bust the balls of John Alba and put Mac Daniels underneath that card. But anyways, these guys really opened it up, really showed us what we were expecting for that night. I love the Sea Stars. You can catch them on AEW television. You can catch them across New England. And, they were with one of the greatest, throwbacks to, when wrestling was wrestling. Iron Rip Bison. I mean, he's a madman. But, you are going against a very talented young trio, headed by the genius John Alba.
Absolutely, you learn not to underestimate him. He does glorify himself over the main attraction, Mac Daniels, and you know who it is. It's one of the best underrated stories in all of independent wrestling. It is hilarious to me seeing how John Alba and Randy Carr work so well together, but they're polar opposites at the same time.
Oh, it's funny. It is funny, but I love it, And sometimes that's how it is, opposites attract, and that's, I think what happens. Sometimes you find that sweet spot, and they do have that chemistry together on their podcast, on their mic work. Whenever they're doing anything, Randy Garvey and John Alba are the voice of Limitless Wrestling. We are the voice of the VSW. It's amazing, though, to listen to them. I can listen to those two on their podcast all day and night.
Absolutely, and it is amazing. This was a great back-and-forth match. The Sea Stars and Delmy XO did use some Boston Crab moves on BRG and Shannon Thomas, but it was not enough as the prestigious lost their new triple finisher, which is a modified Doomsday device, slamming Vox all the way to the ground, kind of like what you see with the Road Warriors.
I would definitely a throwback to that. And, that was lights out. And again, the Sea Stars came up short with, against the Prestige. Whatever they are now, And I have to say, every time I watch BRG, he gets better and better and better between his double axe handles, his off-the-top work, his elbow drops. All of his Macho Man-like moves have gotten so much better on the last year. Really pay attention to that next time you watch them. Really.
Same as Shannon Thomas. He keeps getting better and better.
Channing is going to be the next one to break out probably out of New England and into the television. But who knows, we got so much talent. And that just this was just on the pre-show. Imagine that, folks, the pre-show. Let's get to the next match that opened this show.
This was another great bout that I originally thought was going to be higher on the card, the way these two have broken out during the pandemic. But I understand why Versace it's the opening match. You got the leader of the Scrunchy Squad, who we had on there in an interview. Becca versus the not America sweetheart, Davey Ann.
What a matchup, these two. It's a great story again.
They're two that
Limitless. You had them fight each other. You had them teaming up as the Scrungy Squad. They finally found,
They've been in literally every promotion together since the pandemic started.
They did. But, Davey joined forces with her. They worked together. They had some mishaps.
Definitely. And
they had to work things out in the ring against each other. I saw it today. Very exciting news out of, if you're a Scrungy Squad Becca fan, she had a new merch drop. New bucket hats with her in that, super kick. And new tank tops were out dropped today, too. And they were going fast. So you should check in on that and pick them up if you are a Becca fan. But yeah, this match I did think was going to be higher on the card as well. It was not. It opened it right up. And you know what? It delivered everything that I expected out of this match. These two women are the future of the industry. I can't say it loud enough.
Absolutely, Versace. Well, here's the thing is that you've got two up-and-coming women. One's been a legend in the indie scene the past 5 to 10 years, and that's Davey Ann breaking away. She's been a chaotic women's champion. She's a huge spear and suplex person with Becca's acrobatics and high-flying movesets. But that 450 splash that hit Davey, there's no way she was kicking out of that.
No, that was, that splash rivals anybody's splash from WWE. I don't care if you want to talk Eddie, you want to talk any of the top stars, X-Pac, any of them that jump off the top. This was done better. And, not to mention, she also has that mean super kick, that really delivers when she lands it. And this, I think, she proved herself once again that not to take it lightly. Yeah, Davey Ann might be the gatekeeper in New England. Well, let's break the walls down, and that's exactly what Becca did to get this victory. And I think, I think Davey Ann now respects her.
Absolutely, that's what I think both. Well, speaking of Davey Ann, before we move on, there was a post-match interview with Davey Ann. I think she was ready to move on. But you have the genius John Alba confront her, saying he emailed her and everything. Do you think Davey Ann's going to join the highly prestigious group? Or?
If she was smart, she would stay away. She's already in great company. I just don't see it, being to her benefit to work with John Alba. What can John Alba do for non-America's sweetheart that she can't do for herself even? She's a very self-made wrestler. Nobody messes. She steps to the top of the industry with the top wrestlers. JT Dunn. Anyone you want to name, she's will go toe-to-toe.
Trish Adora recently in the new Beyond Women's promotion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she has done it all. And you know what? I don't think she needs Alba to hold her hand to do any more. I think she can really handle it on her own. She wants to continue in tags. Becca is the way to go. She is the future. Like I said, this is, the Scrungy Squad.
But you could see Davey Ann be a number one contender for the Limitless World title.
Oh, easily. She could be the number one contender for that with ease. And she could have a great match with Daniel Garcia.
Speaking of, are you ready to move on?
Sure am.
So we got I think it was a number one contenders match. Originally it wasn't. So you got MLW's Kevin Koo versus the Prize OG, Alec Price.
My boy. Eyes on the prize. Every time I see Alec Price, this kid delivers for me. He is what I like to see when I watch professional wrestling. He has the right attitude, mindset, moveset, everything. But Kevin Koo came out and really surprised me. I haven't seen much of him before.
Well, he did lose to Daniel Garcia when he defended the title against him.
He did, but like I said, prior to even that, I really didn't see much of him on the indie scene. He's not a person I follow specifically. But you know what?
This was a real sleeper match, and I knew it was going to be a really great banger of a match.
He impressed me. Anything that Alec Price is in a banger, 5-star banger, as a matter of fact. And we can talk about that later, speaking of bangers and Alec Price. But, Alec Price gets the job done. The time is his. And, could maybe defeat Garcia if he had another opportunity. But he was shut down from that opportunity real quick from the Prize City OG.
Absolutely. It was the Prize OG did win this match after using one of his finisher moves on the middle rope to Kevin Koo. Kevin Koo really impressed with his technical skills, but it wasn't enough for the Prize OG, as he has his eyes on the prize ever since he lost that Fatal 4-Way Vacation Land Cup final. He's been really on a mission to try and move up in the Limitless roster.
Well, the time is his now, and you know what? To be honest with you, from that time of Vacation Land Cup, this kid has moved and done great, incredible things in the industry, and has really gotten much, much better. So you know what? Garcia better watch out. He just better watch out.
Absolutely, Versace. And are you ready to move on?
I sure am.
So you got a tag match showcase between two up-and-coming teams. One team with half a veteran and another a new guy. You got two of your favorite teams, especially one of them. You got the competition, Connor Murphy and Champ Matthews versus the main event of the ringleader, Midas Black and Jay Lyon, the pride of the team.
And this was actually a VSW-sponsored match. We picked this one up. I love tag teams.
And it was one of the greatest matches on the card. The aerial moves all of these 4 men have done were outstanding.
And that was the whole, the whole thing about this night was basically tag teams, in my opinion. There was such a, with the title match we'll jump into, well, not title match, but main event, it might as well have been a title match or what was on the line. But we can go further into that later. But, these were the matches that I was looking forward to so much in this tag division, is these two teams right here. The competition has been on a streak, They were in that 3-way where they beat MSP and the other one. Then they lost MSP. Since that loss, Connor Murphy has been on a, just focused. He's ready to catch a body, okay? And he's not stopping until he does. He's out there every single day being the best, talking about being the best, and backing it up. I watch him on social. I watch him, do what he does. But you have, another great tag team in this division. The main event, you might have caught them, on AEW television as well. They were there. These two guys put on a show every single time. And I love it. I can't get enough of it. I can watch these guys wrestle a marathon, I really can. And, the four of them together really, delivered for what I consider, a great classic tag team matchup.
Absolutely. With all the acrobatics. It was the competition getting the victory, though, Versace.
It was. Competition deserves the victories. They're hungry for this. They are very hungry for something, whether it be the V's, whether it be titles, whether it be, just the respect that they deserve. They've been around a bit. Connor Murphy's been around a bit. I think he deserves a little bit more respect than he's getting right now, and I think he's out to prove for it.
He is.
And then you got, speaking of acrobats, you got Champ. You got Champ. He's the most acrobatic you can find.
Absolutely. There were a lot of top rope moves, a lot of somersaults in this match, too. It was amazing.
I love these guys. They really put on a show every single time. But like you said, it was the competition taking the victory over the main event. Well-deserved. They did what they had to do.
And they did confront MSP after, hoping that they win, give them a little hint.
Well, if, there's a little chip on, the competition. So, yes, they did beat them in the 3-way. Yes, they lost on the 2-way. But who is the better team? You really don't know. Yes, MSP is the face of Maine, or are they not? We'll go into that in our main event. But, the competition is right behind there.
Absolutely. Are you ready to move on?
I am.
Here's a little warning for you that you probably already know in the back of your head, Versace. This is a match that's more about that the talk of this match wasn't even the two competitors. It was someone on the sideline in the singles match between everyone's favorite, your icon, Ava Everett, former Platinum Honey, versus the Wild Child, recently free from Canada, Jody Threat. And the person on the sidelines who made signs was Love Dude.
Well, Doug loves Ava Boo. He's been about Ava since this season of the road, I feel.
It feels like since preschool that he's had a crush on her. The way he did
him. But, she just keeps deflecting him. She really doesn't, pay him no mind. But now I think she's starting to pay him something.
Absolutely.
He is definitely, now I think gotten to her last nerve and, pulled it. But, this was a great matchup between two talented wrestlers. Ava is a legend in the game. She's been in it for a minute, and she's been delivering ever since. I can't say one bad thing about an Ava Everett match, whether it be in Limitless, whether it be in Chaotic, whether it be in NCW. I've seen her wrestle all over, and every time she puts on a show. Jody Threat, for one of the first times me watching her wrestle, I was very impressed with her.
I did watch her match last year in Practice What You Preach, I think it was called. The one right before we were supposed to go for the first time against Chris Statlander.
The one where I was sick at, yes. Which now they're saying that COVID was around at that time, which probably it was that I was sick with, because I was a pretty weird sickness at that month.
But that ain't going to stop us from going this Saturday for sure.
Oh, no. We are double vaxxed, ready to go off to Maine. My God, what a day in wrestling history.
But it was a pretty good match. Yeah, maybe it wasn't a 5-star match. Like, both these competitors were really good, though. But it was meant to advance a story for future storylines. Which you saw Ava getting so angry at Doug, trying to tell him to sit down. And he kept cheering and cheering, making signs for her.
Oh, yeah.
And Jody Threat caught her getting so angry, rolled up the pin, and 1, 2, 3, Ava Boo lost just like that, Versace.
And she did, and you know what? She was furious. She chased Love Doug out of that arena faster.
It was like Forrest Gump when he kept running across the country.
He might still be running now.
He is like a box of chocolates. You don't know who he's going to go after next.
You don't. But I'll tell you one thing, I don't think he tried intentionally to cost David the match. I think he feels really bad about that. I mean, that is his boo. But you know what? When you're a wrestler, you got to not worry so much about the sidelines. You got to focus on your opponent because that's where you're going to lose. You're not going to lose outside. You're going to lose inside when your opponent pins you.
I think if it was Ava Everett of the past before she went this pandemic character change as a bipolar, everyone's favorite icon, I think she would appreciate Doug if he was around in the indie scene in the past, but he's new to the scene like Becca, and I think she's just so angry at the world that Doug's just the latest target in her anger.
Could be. You very well could have a point there, Disable. But we will have to see how this unfolds. I'm sure this is not the end of these two. They fought that Bed of Roses match that was incredible where, Love Doug snuck the win in. He did. He got the win over her. So who knows where it's going to take these two, but like I said, I doubt the story is over.
Well, are you ready to move on, Versace?
Yes, I am.
This is a match I'll admit, not that I wasn't looking forward to it, but I don't know so much about Robert Martyr. But after seeing his performance, he amazed me. And you don't know his last name. In some promotions, it's Smoke. Some, it's Archer, with Ricky Archer, as what they're calling him on the road. Like, this was a match I originally thought would be pre-show or the match opener. But this match was a really great young showcase, as Randy and John Albert said in one of their podcast episodes a week and a half ago, that the combined age of these two is 41 years old. You wouldn't know it.
No,
they delivered. with a submission specialist like Robert Mather, and you've got a high flyer aerial.
Which is crazy is like your sis said, between the two of them is 41, which means one is 21 and one is 20. And with the experience that you see Mather bring into the ring with his, submissions and grappling, you would think he's been on the circuits for 30 to 40 years. He's incredible. He's one. And
he lost his first 2 matches.
He did.
And it doesn't feel like it.
No, he's become one of my favorite and most entertaining wrestlers to watch, because I am from an era where submissions meant something. People actually lost by submission. They tapped. People actually, thrived on it. That they would boast, I can make you tap. You would have who had the best full Nelson match, like in WrestleMania when you had Hercules fighting Billy Jack Haynes to see who would have the best full Nelson. This is the kind of shit that I grew up with. So to see people like Mather come out and do submissions, it is great.
He has a style of a past wrestler. Someone said Harley Race was his influence. I'm surprised a 20-year-old even knows who he is, to be honest.
He's a smart man then. He's watched professional wrestling. He must have I don't know who. I have to actually see now where he trained out of. To be honest with you, if he's trained or he's learned from Harley Race, maybe he trained with them. He has a lot of.
I called it. He has a lot of Drew Gulak in him, and it was one of his influences. So it makes sense. I see a lot of Daniel Bryan in them too with the movesets.
He does. Being such a young kid, he has a lot of influence, but he does have that old style feel. So I would be interested in see where he gained all that from at such a young age. Like I said. If he was 25, 26, or 30, I could say, he's been around a bit. He maybe even trained with Harley Race. I mean, Harley Race died, years ago. So, how old would he have been? 15? 16? I mean, that probably is not the case. So, I mean...
Sad, what we're trying to do in the VSW is promote people back to giving wrestling a chance in general outside of WWE. Most people don't even know who outside of John Cena is, to be honest with you.
No, I mean, a lot of, the PG era kind of dominated now. It's pretty sad, the ages and years get older and older, people forget about, the cartoonish style era of WWE, even like the rock and roll era. They do remember the Attitude era, but, it's only limited now to like Stone Cold, The Rock, and DX. It's really like, a lot is forgotten, a lot is lost. In pro wrestling and WWE.
That was the era I grew up with. I wasn't as knowledgeable then like I am now.
Luckily for fans, we have a thriving independent scene because it keeps us wrestling fans and, other podcasters on our toes.
And I'll be honest with you, let's not take away from Ricky Archer. He's amazing. He's been doing well throughout the pandemic, wrestling in chaotic.
I mean, look at his physique. Look what he's done. Look at his transformation. He is amazing. And he's another, like I said, a very young, talented superstar. He's only going to go to the top. And like I said, he's got a great body. He really put in a lot of work and time and effort into transforming his body and working at the gym. He made a real effort on that. And that takes a lot to do in a pandemic when, you got things like depression, anxiety, and fear, and all this fighting and beating you down daily.
But it was Robert Mather that came away with the victory, Versace.
It was.
His first one, I think, in Limitless all season long.
He didn't have such a glorious season on the road, but, he did pick up this one over Archer. And, like I said, sky's the limit for this kid. He's only going to get better. He's only going to get more opportunities. He's only going to get more chances at Limitless Wrestling.
Absolutely. Are you ready to move on, Versace?
Go ahead.
All right. This was a match that was a battle of heavyweights, battle of boxers, you could say. You'd have one who's thriving off the scene with AEW, and you got one who's a change man. You got JD Drake versus the Holy Beef himself, the change man, the Beef, the Freak.
These guys are great. It was a hard battle and a half. I love seeing the heavyweight division of Limitless.
And the moveset the aerial somersaults that JD Drake does for someone his size amazes me.
JD Drake is a talent, okay? He is an amazing talent. What he can do for a man of his size, you wouldn't think. That's not fat behind him. That's muscle. He is fast. He's maneuverable. He can move in and out of that ring with as better as anybody could. Don't let his size fool you. He's a hard-hitting heavyweight. People, I think, mistake J.D. Drake for being out of shape. And that's not the case at all. They do the same thing with Jericho. Jericho's not out of shape either.
Both guys are in AEW.
He trained his body to fight strong style, to fight in Japan. You gotta understand, when you're a big guy and you're a physical wrestler, you're gonna take more. You're gonna take more risks. I hate to break down the fourth wall for all these, but you're gonna take more bumps. You're gonna take bigger bumps. You're gonna take more, chops. You need to bulk up for this. Especially in Japan style wrestling, they hit much, much harder than US. Okay, so the strikes are harder. You have to bulk up for this kind of style. If you don't, you're gonna get destroyed. It's just a fact. These people aren't out of shape. They're not overweight. They're actually very good shape. They're just big. Yes, there was a time in wrestling that big men ruled the ring. There was no middle class, little lower class divisions. There was no such thing as a welter or whatever you want to call it. Lightweight division. That was a joke. These people wouldn't even wrestle. You would have these people being squashed. The only people that you would see would be heavyweight people that are 250 to 350 to 500 pound wrestlers. People like Hogan, Earthquake, Savage, Giant. You had all these guys that were larger than life. You didn't have people like Rey Mysterio and all these other younger, smaller guys that you have now, like Adam Cole and all of this. Those guys didn't exist in WWE as main stars. They were thrown to the undercard, middle card, maybe, if not squashed. Wrestling has changed over the years, though, now, and I don't think the fans really understand that. Just because they're bigger doesn't mean they're out of shape, and that's exactly what they forget about J.D. Drake.
This was definitely an old school type of heavyweight hoss match for sure.
It was, and these two, really gave it their all. I love seeing the passion that they put into it, especially the Beef Man. He put so much passion into his matches.
He gets all obsessive with his slams and all the. He even bite J.D. Drake's fingers, I believe, and J.D. Drake countered with great arm bars and some pop handle slams.
Oh, he's a savage. He's a complete savage, but you know what? It's what you got to be in this game.
Absolutely, and J.D. Drake pulled out the victory over the Changed Man, didn't he?
Of course he did. J.D. Drake is on television. He is an AEW All-Star. He is making the ranks. He's, not to say that Beef didn't give it his all, but J.D. Drake is a superstar.
He wants the locker room to accept Beef, as he wasn't being so nice to the locker room before. That this whole thing that he's a changed man. I'm thinking he has a lot of mental health issues, as the pandemic, like you said earlier, has taken a lot on our anxiety and depression throughout the world.
A lot of people have become really weird during this pandemic, and their mind's just not in where it should be. I think it just, it takes some time. Some people just changed.
And what do you think of the post-match antics between Beef and Rip Bison getting into a huge fight at the end?
I like that. I like that matchup a lot. Ripper and him is going to be a perfect combination of
heavyweight slamming
fighting
match.
Exactly. This is what I talk about, that heavyweight division. You got Rip in there too. And if we see him, Perry Von Vicious is also in that division. He has made significant gains. He's a powerhouse wrestler now. And I'm looking forward to seeing him come back to Limitless as well.
And you got Robert Martyr approaching J.D. Drake, congratulating him, challenging him to a match in the future.
That would be an interesting build-up, too.
Where you got polar opposites of styles, and
you do.
They have great chemistry.
You don't know what would happen with J.D. Drake getting a hold of Martyr. Would he overpower him? But if Martyr could somehow make him tap, J.D. Drake could tap. So it would be a very interesting clash of styles.
Absolutely. Are you ready to move on, Versace?
I sure am.
And we got the main event of the evening, which is for the first time ever. VSW has sponsored a main event, which is the stipulation. If MSP won, there'd be limitless tag team titles by the end of 2021. And you got the team of Danger Kid, Aiden Agro, MSP, versus what you call the Buffalo Boys or Buffalo Brothers of Kevin Blackwood and his sidekick, the Limitless World Champion, Daniel Garcia, Big Red himself.
Red Death.
Red Death.
You know, this was a very interesting storyline and matchup. You know, when we started to hear about, you know, this card, we heard a lot of things being talked about, but the one thing we didn't hear about is who was Garcia going to face? Who was Garcia going to face? Who's next in line for the great Daniel Garcia? You know, what's next in line? We didn't have anybody. We didn't see anybody. We did see, you know, Daniel Garcia fighting in some other promotions and, you know, Limitless really standing behind their champion. And I think this started to infuriate some of the, you know, long-time, I would say, residents of Limitless like MSP, especially Danger Kid. You know, here's a guy that's, you know, should have had about 15 title runs with Aggro. And because there's no belts, he hasn't had nothing to show for all his victories in Limitless, man. You know, and I think this started to upset him as everybody only points to one champion only. Well, you know, MSP had talked to Randy, had talked to Limitless about belts, and he got turned down, and they said they'll talk to you at a later time. And, you know, Danger Kid went after Garcia in this.
Absolutely, and you had the prize OG talking, commentating, having a little change of attitude and being more fan-friendly toward. He has disdain for Garcia. He's tired of waiting for his opportunity as he shot on commentary. But you got a great match between Blackwood and Garcia versus MSP to start off. A lot of submission moves.
Well, you got to remember, first of all, is Alec Price is next in line. Second of all, if Alec Price won the cup, you know, maybe he would have been champion now. So you have a lot of things, you know, to think about. But, yeah, I mean, this was a great matchup. Veterans, talk about veterans. You know, they didn't want to be a tag team, but they had the chemistry of a tag team, and that's the Buffalo Boys. And then MSP is just the greatest tag team that, you know, we've seen in ages. These guys gave it their all. MSP really, really did. You know, they had high flying maneuvers. Their chemistry was great. Everything was on point. They really just gave everything they had. But, I mean, you're going against Red Death, the champion. You're going against Blackwood, AEW guys. These guys have been on AEW several times. Garcia's champion everywhere. He's been written about in news articles and everything else.
He's been main eventing so many indie shows around the country, too.
You know, there's only going to be a matter of time before he ends up fighting, you know, Yuta for that IWTV title.
Maybe you'll have a future unification match towards the end of the year.
Who knows what happens?
That would be amazing.
Who knows what happens? But, you know,
you got the MMA submission specialists in both Blackwood and Garcia.
They're both very aggressive, and it was just too overwhelming for MSP. You know, and they made them, they beat them. They made them pass out.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. They were about to win, but the referees got knocked out, and you saw Garcia bring in the Limitless title to knock Danger Kid's head out, not giving him the submission moves that Blackwood and Garcia have. I think it was sharpshooters to make MSP pass out. They didn't tap out, they passed out.
They did, and the ref rang. It was a dirty win, but it was a win. And, you know, now we're at a point where there might not be ever any Limitless tag team titles.
I wouldn't say that. Randy seems like to be a great, generous guy. Maybe he makes enough. Because you got not just MSP, you got competition.
Well, competition has a beef now. I mean,
Waves and curls.
You know, if competition was the one in that match to defend the whole tag team division, you know, I think maybe, you know, my dog, you know, Connor is hungry enough. I think he would have, you know, eaten up Garcia and Blackwood, and I think they would have taken that match home because they want the gold. They want the gold around their waist. They're that hungry. I mean, maybe MSP is hungry too, but I don't know if they're hungry as the competition.
That remains to be seen. I wonder, they've had great chemistry together, those teams. You wonder if there'll be a grudge match down the road live in Yarmouth someday towards the end of the year between maybe no disqualification between MSP and
Because
competition won't forget that.
No, they won't. And we honestly really don't know what's in store for us. Like I said, we got a mystery show coming at us live Saturday from Yarmouth, Maine.
And we'll talk about the end after that match when they passed out. You had Alec Price getting all fed up saying he's tired of Garcia holding the goal and not giving him his shot. He's in front of the line. He's ready. And then, bam, the lights come out. And I legit thought maybe the Undertaker's coming back. But it's Limitless, man. He's retired, eh? That I was spooked seeing the lights go out in Yarmouth in the end. That's the end of the match. And I thought it was legit Samoa Joe, but it was the man, the AC baby himself, AC Romero.
It was
one of a Limitless original, too.
Yeah, now, original OG, AC Romero, also AEW superstar. He's back, baby. He's back in the indie scene. I've seen him booked a few places, and now he's back in Limitless.
Impact and MLW superstar, too. He's all over the place.
He's gonna be, moved himself right in. Limitless is doing, yes, the secret show, but then they are doing another show after that, and they've already announced the main event, and the main event is going to be for the Limitless World title. It is going to be a 3-way triple threat. That is right. You are going to have Daniel Garcia versus Alec Price versus AC Romero.
This is going to be, as Alec liked to say, a banger, because one of the best matches all season on the road was the main event of a month ago on one of the roads where you had AC versus Alec Price, but Alec couldn't beat. But he sold those chops like it
was a banger. It was a banger, and this is going to be a banger, and I can't wait to see this main event. I don't know who's going to take it. Maybe the age of Red Death's over. Maybe it's AC's age, or maybe it finally is Alec Price's time.
Maybe Garcia moves on and he drops the belt to either AC or Alec Price continue.
It is interesting. WWE did open up trademarks in a name that he has used before. I don't know if that's just to stop him from using it or if they actually are looking at him. You never know with WWE how they pick and choose who they decide and, what moves they do to decide who can wrestle where. They are really sneaky about picking up names. But you know what? He could be anywhere. He could show up on AEW. He could be on WWE. He could stay in Limitless. Doesn't matter where Daniel Garcia is. He's the fighting reigning champion right now. And he's going to give it everything he has, no matter what comes out his way. And that's going to be either Alec Price, AC Baby, both at the same time. Who knows? Maybe he gets lucky and those two fight each other. He can rest a little bit and then just capitalize on who's left. There's going to be a lot of ways this is going to end. I don't know which way it's going to go. We're going to have to wait and find out. Like I said, we got the mystery show back in Yarmouth this Saturday. Can't wait for that. Then, like I said, they announced one more last tape show. That's the main event. We don't know what other matches are going to be on that, but you sure better believe that we will cover that. This is just about all the time we have on this podcast, folks. I thank you, everybody, for listening. And definitely check out, Fortune Favors the Bold. It is on IWTV. You can recap it. Watch the road every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. And definitely check us out at VSW Podcast.
I can't wait to meet you guys in person in Yarmouth on Saturday. It's a long time coming for both of us. I can't wait to be there live. Finally!
It is going to be a great day in wrestling history. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Versace Stoner out.
Disable out.